Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. Today's topic is something that's both nerve wracking and exciting: job interviews. I'm Alex, and I'm here with my best friend Sarah to talk about everything from the nerves before an interview to the follow up after it. Hey Sarah, how's it going?
Hey, Alex. I'm good. Thanks. I'm really excited about today's topic. I know a lot of people dread interviews, but they don't have to be so scary. I've had my fair share of them, and I'm sure you have too. There's a lot we can share to help others out.
Absolutely. Interviews can feel like such high stakes situations, but if you're prepared and know what to expect, they can actually be empowering experiences. Why don't we start by talking about the very beginning, preparing for the interview? What do you do, Sarah, when you find out you've got an interview lined up?
That's a great place to start. For me, preparation is key. As soon as I know I have an interview, the first thing I do is research the company. I'll go on their website, check out their mission statement, their products or services, and see if they've been in the news recently. I want to understand their culture and what they stand for. How about you?
I do the same. I think it's really important to understand who you're interviewing with. It shows that you're genuinely interested in the company and not just looking for any job. I also try to look up the people who will be interviewing me if I know their names. LinkedIn is a great resource for that. Knowing a bit about their background can give you a better sense of what they might be looking for in a candidate.
Definitely. I also prepare by reviewing the job description carefully. I make sure I understand what the role entails and think about how my experience aligns with what they're looking for. I'll make notes of specific examples from my past work that demonstrate I have the skills they need.
That's such an important point. I've found that having those examples ready can make a huge difference. It's one thing to say you have a skill, but it's another to actually demonstrate it with a concrete example. It makes your answers much more compelling.
Exactly. And speaking of answers, I also like to prepare responses to common interview questions. You know, the usual ones like, tell me about yourself, what are your strengths and weaknesses, and where do you see yourself in 5 years? Having a general outline of how I'll respond helps me feel more confident going in.
Oh, for sure. I think the tell me about yourself question is one that can trip people up because it's so open ended. How do you usually approach that one?
I try to keep it professional and relevant to the job I'm applying for. I'll start with a brief overview of my career, highlighting key achievements and experiences that are relevant to the position. I also like to weave in a bit of my personal story to give the interviewer a sense of who I am beyond just my resume.
That's a good strategy. I've heard some people suggest structuring that answer in three parts: your past experiences, your current situation, and your future goals, all tied back to the job you're interviewing for. It gives a nice narrative flow and shows that you've thought about how this role fits into your career path.
I love that approach. It's concise and focused, which is exactly what you want. Another thing I do is practice answering these questions out loud. It helps me refine my answers and get comfortable with the words so I don't stumble during the actual interview.
Yes! I've done mock interviews with friends or even just in front of a mirror. It can feel a bit silly at first, but it really does help. The more you practice, the more natural you'll sound.
Exactly. And on the day of the interview, I make sure to get there early, about 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time. It gives me a chance to settle down and gather my thoughts. What about you, Alex? Any pre interview rituals?
I'm the same when it comes to arriving early. I also try to do something that relaxes me beforehand, like listening to calming music or taking a few deep breaths. I've found that if I'm too anxious, it can affect how I come across in the interview. So managing that anxiety is crucial for me.
That's a great idea. Staying calm and collected really makes a difference. And once you're in the interview, how do you handle the questions? Do you have a specific approach?
I try to listen really carefully to what they're asking. It sounds obvious, but sometimes nerves can make you miss the nuances of a question. I make sure to take a moment to gather my thoughts before I respond. If I'm not sure what they're asking, I don't hesitate to ask for clarification. It's better to take a little extra time and give a well thought out answer than to rush and fumble through it.
I totally agree. I also like to keep my answers concise. It's easy to ramble when you're nervous, but I try to stay on point and directly address the question. If they want more details, they'll ask.
That's a good point. And how do you handle questions that are tricky or unexpected?
Those can be tough, but I try to stay calm and think about what they might be trying to assess. Sometimes they're looking to see how you handle pressure or think on your feet. I'll take a deep breath, and if I really don't know the answer, I'll be honest about it, but try to pivot to something related that I do know.
That's a solid approach. I've also found that it's okay to take a moment to think before answering. A brief pause to gather your thoughts can actually show that you're thoughtful and deliberate in your responses.
Exactly. And what about questions for the interviewer? I always make sure to have a few prepared. It shows that I'm engaged and interested in the role. Plus, it's a chance to learn more about the company and the team.
I do the same. I like to ask about the company culture, what success looks like in the role, and what the team dynamics are like. It's also a good opportunity to ask the interviewer about their own experience with the company, which can give you valuable insights.
Those are great questions. I've also found that asking about the next steps in the hiring process is a good way to wrap up the interview. It shows that you're eager to move forward.
Definitely. And after the interview, I always make sure to send a thank you email within 24 hours. It's a small gesture, but it can leave a lasting impression.
Absolutely. I like to mention something specific from the interview in the thank you note, like a particular topic we discussed. It makes the note more personal and shows that I was paying attention.
That's a nice touch. And it's a good way to reinforce your interest in the position.
Exactly. So, we've covered a lot today, from preparation to handling questions, and even the follow up. Interviews can be daunting, but with the right approach, they don't have to be. Do you have any final thoughts, Alex?
Just that it's important to remember that an interview is a two-way street. It's not just about them assessing you, it's also about you figuring out if the company is the right fit for you. Don't be afraid to ask the tough questions and make sure it's a place where you'll be happy and successful.
That's such a good point. Finding the right fit is crucial. And if you don't get the job, don't be discouraged. Every interview is a learning experience, and it just means there's a better opportunity out there for you.
Yeah, let's keep the conversation going because there's so much more we can dive into. You know, Sarah, one thing we didn't really touch on in detail is how to deal with nerves during the actual interview. I feel like everyone has that moment where they're just so anxious, and it can really affect their performance. What do you usually do if your nerves start kicking in?
Oh, I can totally relate. It's like your heart's racing and your mind just blanks out, right? I think it's all about grounding yourself in the moment. For me, I like to focus on my breathing. When I feel that anxiety building up, I'll take a slow, deep breath. Count to 4 as I inhale, hold it for a second, then exhale for 4 counts. It really helps me calm down and refocus.
That's such a simple but effective technique. I've heard of box breathing too, where you breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold again for 4. I've tried it and it really works wonders, especially in situations where I need to stay composed.
Exactly. Breathing is such an underrated tool. I also try to remind myself that the interviewers are just people. They're not there to catch you out or make you feel uncomfortable. In fact, they want you to do well. They're hoping you'll be the right fit. Thinking of them as partners in the process rather than authority figures helps me relax a bit.
That's a great mindset shift. I think another thing that can really help is positive visualization. I try to picture myself acing the interview, walking out feeling good, having connected with the interviewers, and getting that call saying I got the job. It might sound a bit cheesy, but it really puts me in a confident frame of mind.
Oh, I do that too. Visualizing success is such a powerful tool because it shifts your focus from fear to excitement. Instead of thinking about all the things that could go wrong, you're imagining everything going right, which helps you project confidence.
Totally. And speaking of confidence, I've found that how you carry yourself physically during the interview makes a huge difference. Body language speaks volumes. You want to appear confident even if you're feeling nervous inside. I make sure to sit up straight, make eye contact, and smile. It sounds basic, but those nonverbal cues can really influence how you're perceived.
You're so right. Your body language can either reinforce what you're saying or undermine it. Like, if you're talking about how you're great at collaborating with teams, but your arms are crossed and you're avoiding eye contact, it's going to send mixed signals. Being mindful of your posture and facial expressions can help you come across as more engaged and trustworthy.
Exactly. And one thing that's really important but sometimes overlooked is pacing your speech. I know when I'm nervous, I tend to talk a little too fast. Slowing down not only helps you sound more confident, but also gives you more time to think about your responses.
Oh, same here. I have to consciously remind myself to slow down, especially during the early parts of the interview when I'm most nervous. Taking a pause before answering a question can also give you time to formulate a clearer, more thoughtful response.
Definitely. Pausing is such an underrated skill. I used to be afraid of any silence in the interview, thinking it would seem awkward or make me look unprepared. But a brief pause can actually make you seem more composed and reflective. Plus, it gives the interviewer time to absorb what you've just said.
Right. And something else I wanted to bring up is handling questions where you don't know the answer. I think that's one of the scariest moments in an interview because you don't want to sound unprepared, but sometimes you just genuinely don't have the answer right at that moment. I used to dread those situations, but I've learned that it's okay to admit when you don't know something. What's important is how you handle it.
Absolutely, I've been there too, and I've realized that honesty paired with a proactive attitude can actually work in your favor. If I don't know the answer, I'll usually say something like, "That's a great question. I don't have the information at hand, but I'd be happy to look into it and get back to you." It shows that you're honest and willing to go the extra mile to find the answers.
Yes. And sometimes you can also relate it back to something you do know. For example, if they ask you about a specific software you haven't used before, you can say, I haven't worked with that particular program, but I've used similar tools like X and Y, and I'm confident I can pick it up quickly. That way, you're showing your adaptability and willingness to learn.
That's such a smart approach. It's all about turning a potential negative into a positive by highlighting your relevant experience or skills. And speaking of adaptability, I think it's also important to be flexible in how you approach the interview. Sometimes things don't go as planned. Maybe they ask unexpected questions or the interview format changes. Being able to adapt on the fly is a key skill.
Definitely. I've had interviews where I prepared for a traditional one on one, but then it turned into a panel interview with multiple people asking questions. It was intimidating at first, but I just tried to stay calm and adapt to the situation. It helped to remember that I was still prepared with my key talking points, no matter who was asking the questions.
That's a great example. Panel interviews can be especially challenging because you have to engage with multiple people and keep track of their different perspectives. Do you have any tips for handling those?
For sure. When I'm in a panel interview, I make a conscious effort to address my answers to the person who asked the question. But I also make eye contact with the other panel members to keep them engaged. It's about balancing your attention so everyone feels included in the conversation. I also try to remember everyone's name and use them during the interview. It personalizes the interaction and shows that you're attentive.
That's a good point. I think using people's names is such a simple yet effective way to build rapport. It makes the conversation feel more personal and less like you're just talking at a group. Plus, it shows that you're paying attention and taking the interview seriously.
Exactly. And another thing to keep in mind with panel interviews is that they can sometimes feel more formal, but it's still important to let your personality shine through. You want to be professional, of course, but don't be afraid to show some enthusiasm and let them see who you are as a person.
Right, because at the end of the day, they're not just hiring your skills, they're hiring you as a person. They want to know if you'll be a good fit for the team and the company culture. So, being authentic is really important.
Exactly. And on the topic of authenticity, I think it's also crucial to be honest about your weaknesses when asked. It's a tough question because you don't want to undermine yourself, but you also don't want to come off as disingenuous by saying something like, I work too hard, or I'm a perfectionist.
Oh, the weaknesses question is always tricky. I've found that the best approach is to choose a real area of improvement, but also talk about the steps you're taking to address it. For example, you could say, I've noticed that I sometimes struggle with time management when I'm juggling multiple projects. So I've started using a task management tool to help me prioritize better.
That's a great way to handle it. It shows that you're self aware and proactive about improving. I think interviewers appreciate when candidates are honest about their growth areas, but also demonstrate a commitment to developing those areas.
Definitely. And it's important to remember that everyone has weaknesses. What matters is how you manage them and your willingness to grow. Another question I wanted to discuss is the dreaded, why did you leave your last job? Or, why are you looking to leave your current position? It's one of those questions that can feel like a minefield.
Oh, yes, that's a tough one. I think the key is to stay positive and focus on the future rather than dwelling on any negative aspects of your past job. If you left due to a challenging situation, you don't want to badmouth your previous employer. Instead, you could say something like, I'm looking for new opportunities that align more closely with my career goals and where I can continue to grow and take on new challenges.
That's a great way to put it. It shows that you're forward thinking and motivated by personal and professional growth. I've also found it helpful to mention something specific about the company I'm interviewing with, like how their values or mission resonate with me and how I see myself contributing to their team.
Exactly. It's a good way to pivot the conversation back to why you're excited about this new opportunity and what you can bring to the table. And speaking of excitement, have you ever had one of those interviews where you just feel like you're totally in sync with the interviewer? Like everything clicks?
Oh, absolutely. Those are the best. When the conversation flows naturally and you can tell that the interviewer is genuinely interested in what you're saying, it's such a confidence boost. It's like you're having a really engaging conversation rather than just answering a series of questions.
Yes. I think that's the ideal scenario. When you reach that level of rapport, it's a sign that you're a good fit for the role and the company culture. It also makes it easier to connect on a more personal level, which can help you stand out in their minds after the interview is over.
Exactly. I've noticed that in those situations, I tend to be more relaxed and authentic, which leads to better answers and a more positive overall experience. It's a reminder that interviews are a two-way street. You're both trying to see if this is a good match.
That's so true. And sometimes, even if you don't feel that immediate connection, it doesn't mean the interview didn't go well. You can still make a strong impression by being prepared, professional, and showing genuine interest in the role.
Definitely. And that's where following up after the interview really comes into play. We touched on thank you emails earlier, but I think it's worth emphasizing just how important they are. A well crafted thank you note can reinforce your interest and leave a lasting impression.
Absolutely. I always try to personalize my thank you emails by referencing something specific we discussed during the interview. It shows that I was paying attention and that I'm still thinking about how I can contribute to the team.
That's a great approach. It's also a chance to reiterate your enthusiasm for the role and the company. Sometimes, if I feel like there's something I didn't get to mention during the interview, I'll include it in the thank you note as well. It's like a final opportunity to make your case.
That's a smart move. And if you haven't heard back after a couple of weeks, I think it's perfectly okay to send a polite follow up email to inquire about the status of your application. It shows that you're still interested and keeps you on their radar.
Exactly. Persistence, when done respectfully, can demonstrate your commitment. Just be mindful not to overdo it. One follow up is usually enough.
Agreed. And sometimes, even if you don't get the job, sending a thank you note after receiving the rejection can leave a positive impression for future opportunities. You never know when another position might open up that's an even better fit.
That's such a good point. It's about maintaining professionalism throughout the entire process, even if things don't go the way you hoped. It's a small world, and you never know when paths might cross again.
Exactly. And each interview, successful or not, is a chance to learn and grow. Reflecting on what went well and what you could improve on for next time is key to getting better with each experience.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's just about finding the right fit, both for you and the company. If it doesn't work out, it might be a blessing in disguise, leading you to something even better down the road.
So true. It's all part of the journey. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from dealing with nerves to handling tricky questions, building rapport, and the importance of follow up. Do you have any final thoughts to wrap things up, Alex?
Just that interviews are a learning experience as much as they are an opportunity. Every interview, no matter the outcome, is a chance to refine your skills, learn more about what you want in a job, and build your confidence. So embrace the process and keep moving forward.
Well said. And to everyone listening, remember that preparation, authenticity, and a positive attitude are your best tools in any interview. We hope today's conversation has given you some useful tips and reassurance. Good luck out there. You've got this.
Some common job interview questions, along with full explanations on how to answer them effectively.
Tell me about yourself.
This question is often asked at the beginning of an interview as a way for the interviewer to get to know you better. It's important to focus on your professional background rather than personal details. Structure your answer using the past, present, future format. Past. Briefly discuss your previous work experiences and how they relate to the job you're applying for. Present. Talk about your current role, highlighting your responsibilities and achievements. Future. Explain why you're interested in this role and how it aligns with your career goals. Sample answer. Sure. I have a background in digital marketing with over 5 years of experience in managing social media campaigns, content creation, and SEO strategies. In my current role at XYZ Company, I lead a team of 5, where we've successfully increased our clients' online engagement by 30% over the last year. I'm particularly passionate about data-driven marketing and enjoy analyzing trends to optimize campaign performance. I'm excited about the opportunity at your company because I'm looking to take on a more strategic role in a forward-thinking environment where I can continue to grow professionally.
Why do you want to work here?
This question tests your knowledge of the company and your interest in the role. The best way to answer is to demonstrate that you've done your research on the company and align their values, culture, and mission with your own goals. Sample. Answer. I've always admired your company's commitment to innovation and sustainability, particularly in how you've pioneered eco-friendly products in the consumer goods market. Your company's mission to reduce environmental impact resonates with my personal values, and I'm impressed by the work environment you've cultivated, where continuous learning and collaboration are encouraged. I'm eager to contribute to a team that's making a meaningful difference and believe that my background in product development can help further your company's goals.
What are your strengths?
When discussing your strengths, choose attributes that are directly relevant to the job you're applying for. Provide examples to illustrate how you've used these strengths in your previous roles. Sample. Answer. One of my key strengths is my ability to analyze complex data and turn it into actionable insights. For instance, in my last position, I identified a significant drop in our customer retention rate through data analysis and proposed a customer loyalty program that ultimately increased our retention by 15%. Additionally, I'm highly organized and excel at managing multiple projects simultaneously. This skill has allowed me to consistently meet deadlines and exceed expectations, even in high-pressure environments.
What are your weaknesses?
This is a tricky question because you don't want to reveal a weakness that could severely impact your ability to perform the job. Instead, mention a minor weakness and discuss the steps you're taking to improve. Sample. Answer. I've noticed that I can be overly critical of my work, which sometimes leads to spending more time on projects than necessary. To address this, I've started setting more concrete deadlines for myself and asking for peer feedback earlier in the process to ensure I'm on the right track. This has helped me become more efficient without sacrificing the quality of my work.
Tell me about a time when you faced a challenging situation at work. How did you handle it?
This is a behavioral question aimed at understanding how you handle pressure and solve problems. Use the STAR method, situation, task, action, result, to structure your response. Sample answer. In my previous role, we faced a significant challenge when a major client was unhappy with the direction of their marketing campaign, which threatened our contract. Situation. I was tasked with managing the situation and turning it around. Task. First, I scheduled a meeting with the client to better understand their concerns. I then worked with my team to redesign the campaign, incorporating the client's feedback while still maintaining our original goals. Action. After presenting the revised strategy, the client was pleased with the changes and we were able to retain their business. Result. In fact, the client's satisfaction led to a 20% increase in their annual budget with us.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Sample answer. In 5 years, I see myself in a leadership role within this company, possibly managing a team of my own. I'm eager to develop my skills in project management and strategic planning, and I believe that the experience and knowledge I'll gain here will prepare me for those responsibilities. I'm also interested in continuing my professional development, potentially through advanced certifications or further education, to contribute even more effectively to the company's success.
Why should we hire you?
This is your chance to sell yourself. Highlight your unique qualifications, experiences, and what sets you apart from other candidates. Be specific about how you can add value to the company. Sample answer. You should hire me because I bring a unique combination of technical skills and creative thinking. My background in software development, combined with my passion for user experience design, allows me to create products that are not only functional, but also intuitive and user-friendly. At my last job, I led a project that improved the user interface of our main product, resulting in a 25% increase in customer satisfaction scores. I'm excited about the opportunity to bring this skill set to your team and help drive the next wave of innovative solutions at your company.
Can you describe a time when you had to work with a difficult colleague?
This question assesses your interpersonal skills and ability to manage conflicts in the workplace. Focus on how you approach the situation professionally and what you did to resolve the issue. Sample answer. I once worked with a colleague who had a very different approach to project management than I did, which initially led to some tension and misunderstandings. Situation. Instead of letting the situation escalate, I suggested that we sit down and discuss our work styles and expectations. Task. During our conversation, I listened to their perspective and shared mine as well. We were able to find common ground and agree on a more collaborative approach. Action. After that, our working relationship improved significantly, and we were able to complete the project on time and within budget. Result. This experience taught me the importance of open communication and flexibility when working with diverse teams.
How do you handle stress and pressure?
This question aims to understand how you manage work-related stress, especially in high-pressure situations. Provide examples of techniques you use to stay calm and productive under pressure. Sample. Answer. I handle stress by staying organized and prioritizing my tasks. When faced with tight deadlines or a heavy workload, I break down my tasks into smaller, manageable steps and tackle them one at a time. I also make sure to take short breaks to clear my mind and refocus. For instance, during a particularly busy period at my last job, I was managing multiple projects simultaneously. By staying organized and setting clear priorities, I was able to meet all my deadlines without compromising on quality. Additionally, I find that exercise and mindfulness practices outside of work help me maintain a healthy balance and manage stress effectively.
What do you know about our company?
This question tests your knowledge of the company and shows whether you've done your research. It's important to mention specific details about the company's history, values, products, or recent developments. Sample. Answer. I've done quite a bit of research on your company, and I'm impressed by your commitment to innovation and sustainability. I know that you were one of the first in your industry to adopt a zero waste policy, which speaks volumes about your dedication to environmental responsibility. I've also read about your recent expansion into the European market and how that aligns with your growth strategy. I'm excited about the possibility of contributing to a company that is not only a leader in its field, but also committed to making a positive impact on the world.
What motivates you?
This question is designed to understand what drives you in your professional life. It's important to tailor your answer to reflect motivations that align with a job and company culture. Sample. Answer. What motivates me most is the opportunity to solve problems and make a tangible impact. In my previous role, I was particularly motivated by projects where I could streamline processes and improve efficiency. For example, I led an initiative that automated a manual reporting process, reducing the time spent on it by 50%, and allowing the team to focus on more strategic tasks. I'm also motivated by continuous learning and development. I enjoy taking on new challenges that push me to grow both personally and professionally.
How do you prioritize your work?
This question evaluates your organizational and time management skills. Employers want to see that you can effectively manage your workload, especially in a fast-paced environment. Sample answer. I prioritize my work by first identifying which tasks are most urgent and important. I use a combination of to-do lists and project management tools to keep track of my tasks and deadlines. At the beginning of each day, I review my priorities and allocate time slots for each task, ensuring that I focus on high-impact activities first. If new tasks come up during the day, I assess their urgency and adjust my schedule accordingly. This approach has helped me stay on top of my workload and consistently meet deadlines, even when juggling multiple projects.
Describe your ideal work environment.
This question helps the interviewer determine if you'll thrive in their company's work environment. Be honest, but also ensure your answer aligns with what you know about the company's culture. Sample. Answer. My ideal work environment is one that fosters collaboration, creativity, and continuous learning. I thrive in settings where team members can openly share ideas and work together towards common goals. I also appreciate an environment that encourages innovation and is open to new ways of doing things. Additionally, I value a company that supports work-life balance and provides opportunities for professional development. From what I've learned about your company, it seems like a place where these values are prioritized, which is one of the reasons I'm so excited about this opportunity.
Can you give an example of a time when you had to learn something quickly? How did you handle it?
This question assesses your ability to adapt and learn new skills on the job. Provide a specific example where you successfully picked up a new skill or knowledge area quickly. Sample. Answer. In my last role, we suddenly had to transition to a new project management software with only a week's notice. I had never used this particular software before, so I had to learn it quickly. Situation. I immediately signed up for an online course, to get a basic understanding and spent my evenings going through the training material. Task. I also reached out to colleagues who were familiar with the software for tips and best practices. Action. Within a few days, I was proficient enough to not only manage my own tasks, but also help train other team members. Result. Thanks to the quick learning, our team experienced a smooth transition, and we were able to maintain our project timelines.
How do you handle constructive criticism?
This question aims to gauge your ability to accept feedback and use it to improve. Employers value candidates who are open to learning and self-improvement. Sample answer. I view constructive criticism as an essential part of growth and improvement. When I receive feedback, I make sure to listen carefully and ask for clarification if needed to fully understand the point being made. Afterward, I reflect on the feedback and identify specific steps I can take to improve. For example, in a previous role, my manager suggested that I could improve my presentation skills by being more concise. I took this feedback seriously and enrolled in a public speaking course, which helped me refine my communication style. Over time, I became more confident in delivering clear and concise presentations, and I received positive feedback on my improvement.
Tell me about a time when you went above and beyond at work.
This question is meant to highlight your work ethic and willingness to exceed expectations. Share a specific example that demonstrates your dedication and the positive impact it had. Sample answer. In my previous role as a customer service representative, we had a situation where a long-term client was unhappy with a product they received due to a manufacturing defect. Situation. Although resolving the issue was not entirely within my scope of duties, I decided to take ownership of the situation. Task. I coordinated with the manufacturing team to expedite a replacement order and arranged for overnight shipping to the client. I also followed up personally to ensure they were satisfied with the new product. Action. As a result, the client was extremely appreciative and even wrote a letter to our CEO praising the exceptional service they received. Result. This experience reinforced my belief in the importance of going the extra mile to ensure customer satisfaction.
Why are you interested in this role?
This question is designed to assess your understanding of the role and how it aligns with your career aspirations. Your answer should reflect both your interest in the specific responsibilities and how the role fits into your longer-term career goals. Sample answer. I'm particularly interested in this role because it offers the opportunity to work on a variety of challenging projects that will allow me to apply my skills in data analysis and strategic planning. I've been following your company's growth, and I'm impressed by your commitment to leveraging data to drive decision-making. This aligns perfectly with my passion for using analytics to solve complex business problems. Additionally, the opportunity to collaborate with a talented team and contribute to innovative solutions is something I'm very excited about. I believe this role will not only allow me to grow professionally, but also contribute to the continued success of your company.